Hi, Peter Charles here, Hooked for Life Fly Fishing. And today we're going to look at my old brown trout Weamer, but we're going to look at a slight change to the recipe in order to cure a big problem with this fly. And that is the problem with fouling. And here's one of my old ones. The problem is when this thing got very wet and then you'd hit the water with your back cast. Maybe you just hit the water hard with the cast when it rolled out. A fish hit it. You know, you bumped it on a rock, anything. Even when I wet this fly ahead of time to smooth it out, I dropped it on the floor. Even when I just dropped it on the floor, what it would do, it would foul like that. And this was a constant problem with this particular pattern. Now, there were some ways around it. I could make the wing shorter. If I made the wing shorter, I didn't have that problem. But let's take a look at the material. This is goat hair. And Icelandic sheep is very similar. And it has a beautiful natural taper to it. But the thing is, look how long that is. I mean, for a lot of patterns, this is fantastic. But this creates problems when you're trying to do a smaller fly with this material. And I could use a lot and trim it about here, you know, but I was finding I wasn't happy with the profile I was getting if I used a lot of material. This fly is supposed to be sparse. I don't want to really bulk it up. Another way is I could use it from back here, and then I could, you know, take my scissors and, you know, shave it. That worked, but it, you know, you've lost some of the natural suppleness because now you're working with the thicker hair back towards the butt of the hair, which is thicker and denser and doesn't move as well. So, I mean, I went through all the different variations on how to deal with the problem with fouling. And some worked a little bit better than others, but there was often a penalty in appearance. So what I'm doing this time is, this is natural bucktail. I'm going to use a little bit of this to act as a guard against fouling. So I've got some footage. I went out yesterday with my first fly that I had modified this way. I wasn't going to tie a dozen if they didn't work. I was going to do one. And the score at the end of it was 4 landed bass, probably half a dozen hits from little garpike, little hammer handles, hit the back water on my back cast a couple of times, and through all of that, there was one slight fouling episode on one of the fish. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's a decent fish. Come here. I'll let you go. There we go. Even after a fish, it didn't foul very much. So, the design is working quite nicely. That little bit of added bucktail is just keeping the wing and the flash from going around the hook, gape of the hook. Okay, I hit the water back there, and we'll just check to see if I'm fouled badly. Because normally with the original design on a long wing, if I really whack the water behind me, I can get really badly fouled. And we'll see if we get any fouling at all on this. Look at that, none. That tells you that adding that little bit of bucktail, you want to whack the water behind me. It doesn't foul. This is going to work just beautifully. I could hitting, you know, rolling it out, smacking into the water, hitting the water behind me. It never fouled once. I got weeds on it. As I say, multiple hits from little garpike, no fouling. This method works. So if you've tried my brown trout Weamer before and you've been disappointed with the fouling problem, this is how to get rid of it. And it actually, the fly looks fantastic in the water, so it's a win-win. And the fish definitely loved it. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in the tying because I already have a video up on the brown trout Weamer. I'm just sort of going to go through until we get to the point where we tie in the bucktail. And then I'll slow down and we'll look at the what's involved and what we're trying to achieve. So let's get started. Oh, yes, and the material list will be in the description. I'm not going to go through the material since it's already up on my other video. Now I use a sponge to wet that Marabou. Don't lick your fingers. This is a great way to get nasty bug like Campylobacter and end up 5-6 weeks on your back and in the toilet. So we're at the stage now where we're going to bring in the bucktail. So I'm going to clip from up here, and I'm not going to take very much. So I'm going to take this over my garbage can, get rid of the short stuff. Now I'm going to get rid of also the bits that are sticking out sideways, the strays. I want this to be pretty well even without stacking. So I want the hairs even at the end, but without stacking. So there's just a little bit of raggedness. And what we're going to do is we're going to rely on the stiffness of this bucktail. And you can see the length here. Let me put it sideways so you can see relationship to the hook. You can see it's about a little bit more than half an inch or 2 centimeters beyond the end of the hook. So I'm just going to trim that off because we don't need that extra bit. And pinch loop it in place. A couple of wraps to make sure it's there. Now you notice how it's sticking up. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to secure it at the front and then just come back, and I'm just going to put soft wraps at the back, make it lay down. Now it's not going to stick up very much. This will compress quite easily in the water by the flow of the water. Okay, the next step is our gold Flashabou. Oh Lord, I'm going to have to get some new Flashabou. This stuff is really in bad shape. It's old. I've had that for years. And it's on its last legs as well. Lots of kinks and wrinkles in it. Oh well, I can still catch fish with flies tied on it. Okay. Again, soft wraps at the back. Now, when I'm going to bring this back about a little longer than the Marabou, and I'm going to bend it backwards like that and make a couple of cuts. Now it's time for our nice chunk of goat hair. You can see that's hardly any left of this patch. That's how many of these flies I've tied. And you don't need very much because part of the profile now has already been made for you. Now we want this to be about there. It's about 3.5 inches in length. There we go. Let's secure this. Clean things up. Again, soft wraps at the back of the head. And if you want to add some more, make the head bigger, just go right ahead. Because this fly does not suffer from big head syndrome. You want a big head, you want space for the eyes, and you want to be able to push water. Now on to our Peacock Herl. 2 strands is enough. Okay, these are matched together, make them the length of the wing. Let's check, make sure everything is straight. Yep. Now we whip finish our tan thread. Now for the eyes. I've always used gold backed eyes just to go with the gold crystal flash. These are small. This is the size I've always used. I use my bodkin to put them in place. Move them with your fingers if you have to. Now we come in with the Danvile ultrafine monofilament. This stuff breaks real easy, so really go gentle with it. When I'm using this ultrafine, the fine is okay, but the ultrafine is delicate. And what I do is the bobbin holder, I should say, that I'm using right now is rather loose. It does not have a lot of tension, and that's what I'm after with this. Is I don't want a lot of tension, because then I'm just going to break the monofilament. Okay, now we can whip finish. The monofilament secures the eyes and also has a nice, interesting translucency to the head. It looks actually quite good in the water. Now we're going to go with our head cement. We're going to use some UV and be sparing with it. If you get too much on, just use the stem to take some off. So I like to spin it while I am applying the torch so it rounds up. You don't get a blob in one spot. And now we're going to apply a little top coat. This is designed to go over UV, so it what it does, it keeps the UV from being tacky, and it preserves the luster of the UV. It doesn't allow it to go milky that you might see sometimes with UV glues. Well, after they've been fished for a while, they can look rather milky and ugly. So the top coat keeps that translucence going, and then when that dries, we're going to be all set to go fishing. So there's the improved Weamer. It has that little bit of bucktail just underneath the wing, and you just extend that bucktail half an inch, maybe a little bit more, 5/8 of an inch beyond the hook shank. You don't extend it all the way to the end of the wing because the bucktail will be too supple then, and it will foul. So having a long bucktail doesn't help you. You want, beyond the body, you want that Icelandic sheep or goat hair to be out there by itself so it moves along with the Marabou. The bucktail is not going to move very much, and that's fine. But that's one of the reasons why I don't stack it. Just leaving a little bit of raggedness at the end is going to help with the movement. And it doesn't look cut off. But you can see just in this particular view of the fly, you can see how that hump in the bucktail works to keep the wing up. I mean, gravity is pulling that wing down right now. But, I mean, the bucktail keeps it up and away from the gape of the hook. Works like a charm, and as I say, as you saw in the footage, I fished it hard for half an hour, and it had one tiny bit of fouling after landing a fish. I mean, big deal. This solves the big problem with this fly. Now you can have this sparse, supple wing, and you still have the profile that you want with the thicker around the body, and the suppleness at the tail so it really moves. And trust me, this thing works. Oh, does it ever work. So give the improved Brown Trout Weamer a try. Cheers.